want to see here. Let me move out here. Okay, this we get number 10. Each line of action is but pure and transcendental activities derived from one reality of thatness. This is called activities in harmonies with the truth. Truth. Mm, okay. Pure and wu wei, right? Non-activity. Derived from one reality. Mm, That's in harmony with the truth. Let's put this way. Mm, What happens if we don't have any more false thinking, any more emotion, uh, any more up and down feeling? This is in line with the way, right? Non-activities or in harmony with the truth, right? If we don't have any kind of discrimination, good, bad, black, white, woman, men, and so forth, am I more at peace? I'm more stable, right? And we don't need to do anything. That's the state of equilibrium, like the pendulum, right? That's the state of stable mind, or the pure mind there. And we don't need to do anything. It come back to our nature there. Uh, so in practical sense, right? When we do meditation, we just be absorbed, but be mindful with our breath. We don't need to do anything. That's way there. That's not activity there. And as long as we use the approach, we'll be with the truth, right? But it's not easy. Not easy because we caught up with that have habitual, right? The wheel is always running. Not easy for us to stop it. Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah. You have any idea about this?
Yeah, this is really beautiful. I've periodically do find myself thinking about this, um, because now my experience is that if I'm if I'm not intentionally practicing, if I'm not being mindful, well, then I experience it like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm making choices. And sometimes I have anxiety over certain choices because I want to make the right one. And so there's some sort of process where there's some stress to make a decision. Um, but the state of the Buddhas is this, you know, action. It's not the same. It's not that process. It's just the just the right action unfolds like a flower blossoming, like there's not an individual self involved or a figuring out process or an analytical thinking about it process. Just the correct action is the natural expression.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, please. Yeah, please come. Let's.
The 10 acts of dedication. Ananda, after these virtuous men have won transcendental powers in their performance of the Buddha work, they attain the state of pure reality, which frees them from all hindrances. They should deliver living beings without clinging to the notion of salvation in order to turn the non-active mind towards the path to nirvana. This is dedication to the salvation of all living beings while avoiding the conception of saving them.
Mm.
Yeah, it's so that part seems very understandable, but then I think there's a greater part of it which is so profound one can't really appreciate until enlightenment. Um, because it appears to be a paradox from our intellectual mind, like a non-active mind, but still works to deliver living beings without a notion of like being the one delivering them, the living beings being delivered, or even delivery itself, salvation itself, that all of those notions are seen as illusions. But yet, that is still, if one observes the Buddhas, that is the activity that one observing the Buddhas would note, is that they are liberating living beings. But for the Buddha, they're not doing it in Buddhas, they're not doing it in order to. They're not like working, doing one thing in order to liberate the living beings. It's just like we breathe. I think that the function of the Buddhas, we describe it as liberating living beings, but the Buddhas don't put forth effort in that sense. And so this, I think the words to describe this point um, seem paradoxical, where you have a non-active mind, but the mind has an intention, but at the same time, it sees that intention as empty, yet also sees it as of utmost importance. So it's, I think it just kind of reveals that we're trying to describe this reality, this phenomena of the Buddha mind that is kind of escapes words, and so appears paradoxical when it's put into words.
Mm. But here, um, when we talk about the parameter, right, perfection, right, whichever, whether it's generosity, patience, and so forth. Of course, I think it's in line with this kind of notion of observation that they not supposed to have any kind of attachment to the notion that they save sentient beings, because as much as they have that type of notion attachment, they're not there yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why even the idea of saving others, we need to let them go. Um, I think this is so practical, right? In our situation, let's say if we step out to help others, and somehow we say, "Hey, you need to remember how I help you guys out, and remember next time if I need you, uh, just give me a hand." It's just the a change, just do business, right? I help you, you help me. That's just a change. So, but in this our notion, and also in the notion of professional parameter, so you need to let go even the thought of remembering your good act that happen to others. Mm. So of course it's pretty hard, but like other tradition, of course, for me, I don't. It's not the point that I want to criticize, but I just want to compare. Let's say in the Christian tradition, right? So Christian people need to pray um to admire, or uh, to praise to God, Jesus Christ, and so forth, so that they can be saved. In Buddhism, especially in the Pure Land tradition, the Buddhist people only make the vows, be born in the Western Pure Land, uh, to recite His name, uh, mm, uh, and let's see, and to have that type of strong faith. That's all. They don't need um, to praise to them, to Him, right? Uh, up to the point that wherever they go, the only thing they need to do is just have a strong faith and believe in Him, so that He could take them to them. That's all. And um, you understand my comparison now? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That there's no self, no attachment to, hey, I'm the one that help you. Hey, I'm the one that help you out. But all the tradition, especially like the Western tradition, had mentioned that, hey, God save you. You need to remember that, so forth. Is that similar or is that different in that notion? What do you think?
Well, I've been surprised a lot of times just after learning enough about Buddhism and growing up Christian, um, that it seems like within Christianity, it's like there are similar concepts that are found in Buddhism, but they're adapted to the idea of there being a creator God. It's like they're kind of close, but then there are these parts that shift off from that. And in your example of like the credit being due, um, like I did this for you, so then you should do this for me. Uh, yeah, there definitely is that. There's a sense that's in there that's not there in Buddhism. Like there is a devotional aspect within Buddhism of it's some at one point once we understand enough, it's natural to worship the Buddha, and we can even use our gratitude towards what the Buddha did in order to bring to realize these teachings and to bring them all the work the Buddha did. There's gratitude, and then that can motivate us. But it's different in that sense. Like it's really clearly described. There's like that's what I'm saying. It's like there's some similarities and it's close, but the nuance is very important because if you have like an equation and you have a slight difference in the equation, when you plot the equation, you can get a big difference. And so if in the concept there's a different view, even though it's a little different, there's a lot of similarity, then the outcome of that view over like on a big scale, it can be much different. Um, so yeah, I think there is a distinction there if we look closely.
I think the big difference is self and non-self attachment to the ego and the attachment to the ego. That big difference there, right? So um, I put this way. Mm. Of course, for them, they give the credit to God whenever they have the blessing or they lucky, and mm, uh, that's why they show their gratitude to their own God. I think in general, not only in Christian tradition, but also in the Muslim or even in Hindu tradition too. That's why somehow in the Buddhist tradition that whenever the Buddha gave the teaching, so the lay people they can attend the first arahantship, right? The entering of the path, right? So these two conditions. The first one is that they need to have indestructible faith with the Buddha, right? And the second one is that they let go of their attachment to the ego. That's two main condition. And the further they move on to the second stage, third stage, and the last one, the hard one, they have to let go their own self completely. That's mean when they let go of their own self, there's no attachment to anything, whether the emotion, whether the feelings. So that's they can be free. So that I think that's a bit different. Of course, for them, whether Christian, Muslim, Hindu, so they give credit to their own God, uh, and they need to show that gratitude to their own God in order to be saved. In order to be saved. Is that right? You think so? Yeah, the big
Um, yeah, that's part of it, and it depends which religion. There's some other additional beliefs to in order to like go to heaven. Um, but yeah, generally, the being saved depends upon uh, ingratiating oneself to the deity. Um, and interestingly, a lot of the same rules. that Buddhism has to be reborn into heaven, there's a good amount of overlap in Christianity, the rules that get one reborn into heaven, and some similar concepts with respect to forgiveness. Like, you know, in Catholicism, they believe that everybody's sins have already been forgiven. And if someone accepts their beliefs, that Jesus is the Savior and that there's this holy sacrament where wine is turned into blood by the priest and bread is turned into flesh, and that's really what happens. They're really drinking Jesus's blood. They're really eating his flesh. Like if they believe that and they do the communion, then they get access to the forgiveness of their sins that Jesus already accomplished. And then so long as if they commit sins, they can commit sins. They just have to repent them. They have to confess them and then repent them. And then their sins can be wiped away. It's a little different than the Buddhist concept of karma, because even though the karma can be like the intensity of its return can be diminished by having a more favorable condition.
Mhm.
But it's not like we're doing something to convince a being to grant us that grace or that forgiveness. And that's I don't think that's necessarily how they officially think of it in Catholicism, actually. I think it's that the individual gets access to the forgiveness that's already there by the act of confession, by them being humble and confessing, then they are reconnecting with the forgiveness that's already there. So if we're really generous, like, and I think this is the key, because if I want to look at Christianity and I want to see the differences, that's pretty easy. But if I want to look at it and I want to see the similarities and I'm generous to Christianity, I'm saying, whoa, this is pretty similar to what the Buddha taught. Maybe they kind of mean it in this way. It's pretty easy to do that. And there's so like anything in Christianity, there is a Buddhist corollary. There's like but you don't see the same thing the other way around. Like all of the teachings within Buddhism, you don't find a Christian corollary for every one of them. But for every Christian one, you can find the kind of the Buddhist version. And there's a pretty strong theory that Jesus actually went to India. And there's like some documentation that there's this, I forget the name, but there's actually a name associated with him in India, and there's some things written down. And he said some things like, I am that.
Mhm.
I am that is this Hindu kind of Advaita Vedanta school uh, ancient idea statement that comes out of India. So I think I think it's quite possible that he was somebody who traveled to India and he received these Eastern teachings, maybe not purely Buddhist, is my guess, that he was had some influence from Buddhism, but there was also the Hinduism. And then when he came and he taught those to people, people wanted to elevate him, like people want to elevate all human beings. And then, you go down through the years and things get changed a little bit, and they heard it in their Judeo worldview. And so, and the Hindus had the idea of a god too, so he probably was
Mhm.
working with that as well. And I think like the reason the Buddha appeared in India at that time is because the foundation present from Hinduism was a good starting point. Like it was close enough that the Buddha didn't have to teach everything from the ground up, but could use what was there and then say, this is why this isn't quite right. Like this is and so it was like good, there was like good stuff there already. It was above the kind of like rudimentary basic things, so that even the stuff you find in Hinduism and the Vedanta, like Advaita Vedanta and yoga, like all of that, if someone didn't have access to Buddhism, that stuff would still be really helpful. It could get someone, it could prevent them from doing bad deeds, it could help them to gain some wisdom. Um, so Yeah, I think probably something a little something like that happened, but who knows? Oh.
So 12 years ago, they did this type of commentary, doc com documentary. Jesus was Buddhist monk. Is
Oh, cool, okay.
you seen this one before?
I haven't seen this video, but I don't know if I'd heard the idea that he was particularly Buddhist, but I did hear the idea that he like spent time in India studying Eastern religions.
At the BBC, it's not the yeah, it's not uh the junk channel, but the authentic one, right? The um yeah, the reliable one. So they have a series of I think they say it's the seven six of them. It's this series here. Yeah. Anyway, so if you look at of course this is our discussion, but I want to talk about this. So if you look at the history of the development of the Mahayan tradition is between the first century BC and the first century. So that time, right? At the time, Jesus, that's what they talk about here, this type of theory that he went to India. I forgot how many years that he missed. They didn't count.
Yeah, I think it's like 28, something
Uh,
like that.
So there's possibility that he went there and learned from especially the Pure Land tradition.
Yeah.
And it's so similar in that notion, right? And again, of course, for the Christian, they would not accept that. But again, somehow they don't buy that. They don't buy the historical fact that this type of scholar they postulate the theories that, and even this they have some tomb, some physical tomb that call not exactly Jesus, right, but the similar one in Hindi. Have you watched this one yet?
No, I haven't.
Let's see. Anyway, so since it's pretty long, so yeah, if you have time, you can watch it. So my point is that, oh, not the book. Yeah, I don't know whether I show you this one here or not. What do you call two master, one message. Have I told you about that?
That sounds familiar. Did Thich Nhat Hanh write that?
Two master, one message. Right here. Here is the book. Two master, one right here. This one. So the here
Yes. Okay.
Christian, Christian scholar, and I read some of them. So he compared the Dhammapada with some messages in the Bible, and also all the sutra in detail. And of course, he postulated that because the Buddha existed 5 6 century before him, before this is right. So there's a possibility that he took a lot of Buddhist teaching into the Bible, especially when he compares sentence by sentence, sutra, sentence by sentence of the sutra, Buddhist sutra, and the Bible, and then so he lists out many of that uh, teaching, of that similar teaching there. Um,
Yeah. And
so
I think, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
okay, you go ahead. You can go ahead. Yeah.
I think what happened with Jesus's teachings is they got used as a means of power. So that's what had them get like, kind of shifted is because at first Rome kind of resisted it, but then eventually Rome embraced Christianity and then they used it to help solidify power and it's still a way to exert power and gain wealth for for the church. I mean, especially the Catholic Church. The amount of wealth they have amassed is intense. It's wild.
Yeah. Here, I think have you used this one, Internet Archive? You used this before?
I think you've maybe sent me some links from there. Yeah, I'm not. I don't use it commonly though.
You can turn page. You can view that. Anyway, so go back. I think the big difference is the Buddhist notion of non-self. That's why um, when the Bodhisattva have all the sentient beings, accept all the sentient beings, they're supposed to let go of that notion, right? If they still attach to the notion, oh, I accept that living beings, that is the self there, attachment to the self ego there. If they just let go of the notion of the self, seven others, heaven others, they go straight to the path of Bodhisattva and become Buddha there. Oh, right here. Yeah, it's yeah. Okay. Let me turn the page and you can see it and see what I mentioned about here. Oh,
It doesn't let you see the in-between pages. Let's see. Oh no, no, limited preview. We gotta
mm.
log in.
Oh, login. You need to have login.
Yeah, use your free account to borrow this book and gain access to all pages.
Mm. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I think that's the big difference here. So you have to let go, or why avoid let go of the sense of attachment, a concept of seven them, right?
Yeah, and definitely different, like within a Christian practicing missionary work to try to convert people is never hears that idea. They're never told like you're not saving, like think of it as if it's not you say you're not doing the saving, no one is being saved. They know they really think they're being saved and they're saving people and they're keeping them from hell. Yeah.
They say that the more they save people, the more they get married, right? That's why they more aggressive when they go out
Mhm.
to push people to convert people, right? Um, yeah. Otherwise, if you they follow the non-self of Buddhist approach, so whenever we can help and they willing to listen that way, otherwise that's your choice. It's more lenient, right? It's more flexible. We say, okay, the more I save other, the faster I go to heaven, right? That bit different. Mm.
I was just listening to a podcast on the Mayans and basically the South and Central American natives people, and the early missionaries in that region really felt like they had to save these people from hell. And when all the Spanish people showed up, they brought a bunch of diseases, and it's killing the native people. And the native people thought like, oh, these diseases are because there's somebody's upset with us, like our God or some God is upset with us. And then eventually they began to believe that the Christian God was upset with them. And so that they had to accept the Christian religion in order to save their lives because they're like all dying like crazy. And the ministers didn't even realize what was happening. The ministers thought if they baptized these Native Americans, that they wouldn't die, they would be saved. So they're using this holy water to baptize these Native Americans, and they're still dying because the holy water has the diseases in them. So they're literally killing these Native Americans in the effort to baptize them. And they're using these really intense methods to get them to the point where they're willing to give up their own beliefs. And then it's a nightmare for everybody involved. The priest, if the priest knew what he was doing, man, like, oh.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so this long story. So make it short that that's why we are so flexible in any way that we practice, any way that we approach to other people. But for them, because mainly I think because of the attachment to the ego, that's the old car problem. Not only Western tradition, but also even in Hindu or Muslim tradition too. As long as the notion of the self is still there, I accept you. You need to show your gratitude, or you need to follow me. and so forth. Basically, you should trust me or follow me uh, with that connotation. That's the problem there. But of course, for us, our task, our approach is that yeah, if we have mm a chance to talk and to help others, that's great. Otherwise, that's okay too. It's more flexible, more at ease, right? Okay, so let's just go back to our discussion. Uh, the whipping out of all that is destructible while avoiding the very idea of doing so is called dedication to destructible. So wipe out all of that destructible is like the karma, while avoid even the idea of doing so. Doesn't mean that right? Drop, let go of the very idea, right? Attachment to the idea, right? Either save other people or transform our karma, right? And so forth. Let go of that kind of idea. Um, that that called the dedication to indestructible. I think, like I mentioned last time, like they start to introduce, let's say, seven attitude. Yeah, seven attitude of mindfulness. They letting go here. Yeah, the idea. Yes, in the practical sense, I think much easier for right here, right? Letting go here, beginning in mind, non-striving. So those couple ideas so foreign, right? Of course, patient, trust, yeah, it's universal, right? But talk about acceptance, non-striving, let go, begin in mind, and non-judgment, judgmental. It's so strange. It's so foreign to the West, to the to American people, right? So there's the big one. They let me go. I think it lay even delay to what you mentioned, the ego, even the idea of helping others. Yeah, the idea of transforming our karma. We need to let go of that thought too. So what do you think? How is this? How is this? Is it practical? If we can let go of those kind of thoughts so that we can be more peaceful. What do you think?
I do think it's practical. Um, like it's very applicable in our daily life. The more tightly we hold on to egoic drives, egoic defenses, the more conflict that we're going to get into. If we can, see the ego as a functional illusion, right? It serves functions in our lives, and then if something happens that crosses the ego, if we have the wisdom, the view to see that, um, what's being crossed is an illusion and it's not us. We don't have to defend ourselves, then we're free. We can just let that pass by. But if we're attached to it, now we're stuck and we're in a fight and we're miserable.
Mhm.
Um, Granted, some people learn to crave conflict, and so they may not experience it as misery, but sooner or later they're going to experience some sort of conflict as misery. Uh, so yeah, I think it's practical.
Yeah. So in any aspect of life, right? In your position, in my position, right? Let's say I walk into the class and they ask, or I tell my student, hey, you need to listen to me. Whichever thing I say, you need to remember. If you don't remember, you fail the class, right? And if they have good grade, and they may say, "Hey, you see that? Because you listen to me, that's why you get good grade. Otherwise, you fail." So that's type of attachment too, right? I uh, and we're proud of things that we help other people. So I think that notion of attachment there. So most of the time, right? We say, okay, I'm proud of my job, I'm proud of my student, whichever thing. When I talk about I'm proud of this, that's this notion of attachment. Otherwise, we will not say that. And of course, on the other hand, so when we fail, right? When we fail to do something, when people could not meet with our expectation, we feel depressed, we feel frustrated. That emotional fluctuation with the two pole, right? I'm proud of this, right? And other opposite side is that I'm so depressed, I'm so sad, I'm so frustrated because of you and because of me. So that's two pole of the side. That's why the idea of proud, being proud, the idea of feeling depressed, frustrated, we need to let them go. The whether it's positive or negative, that's the big thing. And the idea of helping other in the positive way, the idea of thinking about the negative things, we need to let them go. And that's why it's worked out. I think we talk about the difference between CBT, right? CBT and M, I think MC, yeah, MBCT, right? You don't know this one, right?
Yeah, we went over that a few
Yeah.
years ago.
CBT mentioned that we need to replace the positive with the negative, right? That's what here. That's what it's about. Mm, yeah, promote the new way of looking at the painful effect. Promote an alternate way of being with the painful effect. Just let go and accept whichever happened. That's a bit different. A bit different between the cognitive behavior therapies and mindfulness based uh, cognitive therapies. The acceptance here. Anyway, so that's a bit different. That's why that's the third wave of therapies then. But the idea, yeah, I admire them that somehow Dr. Konzabat, he developed this one is so fun. Who probably he one is the Bodhisattva could draw out the essential principle of Buddhism and put it in the practical sense and put it in the understandable sense of common people. And this is striking. Even in I think in the Buddhist way, yes, Hindu tradition, they also advocate meditation too. But when in the West, whenever we talk about mindfulness practice or meditation, most of the time we talk about Buddhism, not Hinduism. You know,
Hmm.
you know why is that? Is that any bias thing or any deeper meanings from that? Why? When they talk about meditation, of course, it comes from the East tradition, but whenever they talk about mindfulness practice, most of the time it relate to Buddhism, not Hinduism. Even
I
the tradition
I
provide.
wonder if it's, I guess there could be different reasons because I know like with yoga, yoga is really big here, but yoga doesn't involve a creator. And but Hinduism does involve a system of gods. And so since in the West most people are Christian, they may be a little hesitant to refer to some practice from a competitive system, whereas they can see Buddhism as more neutral because it's not asserting a God separate from the Christian concept of God. So it's just less threatening, and the teachings also don't like the core teachings of Buddhism don't conflict with the core teachings of Christianity. Whereas within Hinduism, there can be some more. There's a lot of variation. with some of the different teachings. There's not really like as solid of a core that everyone agrees upon. But I don't know. What do you notice?
Here are some concepts that Hinduism doesn't carry. So like beginner mind, they're non-judgmental, letting go and striving here. I think this are the four one that would not be compatible with Hindu tradition, especially yeah, this all kind. If you look, if you read the Hindu Vedas, right? Veda,
Yeah.
oops, and those the two main I forgot
You have the Mahabharata.
two main epics, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
one that's one. Another one is what I forgot. And then,
Isn't the one about Rama and Sita? Is that one of them?
yes, yeah,
The name of that. And Ravana is the bad guy in that one.
two main uh Hindu epic.
Said epics. The Ramayana, yeah, and the Mahabharata. You know, the Advaita Vedanta, though, it's been a long time since I've looked at the Advaita Vedanta. And the Advaita Vedanta, which comes out of Hinduism, is reminiscent of the like non-duality.
That's the point.
Um, I think it kind of gets close to the way in Buddhism that it's described.
It's talk about the structure. It's talk about conflict of the good and bad, especially Ramayana. It talk about okay how the prince rescued his wife after he defeat the demon king, right? And in the Mahabharata too, you said the idea of it's everywhere. In the movie nowadays too, or the story of any ancient religious tradition that the good people will dominate and defeat the evil one. That's the whole idea. So that's why in Hinduism, this the absence of non-judgmental, the absence of beginner mind, letting go, or non-striving. Of course, they have some patient acceptance at first, but that in my view, that's the lack of Hindu principle. That's why, beside what you just mentioned, that yeah, somehow they see the Western scholar, they see Buddhism as a neutral one, but still, those are the foundation of mindfulness practice that Hinduism doesn't provide. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, uh, I forgot the time too. Yeah. All right. So we stop here today?
Oh, yeah, certainly, Jack. Thank you.